Hello, everyone. Welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Now channel. As always, this time I have appeared with the mysterious soap opera. So don't delay, like and subscribe now, and stay tuned. Thomas gets the response he expected from Hope. Paris was excited about getting married at the Forrester estate on Eric's terrace. Ridge observed Thomas is beaming as well. Paris responded that it had been a whirlwind thus far. When Brooke inquired if the couple had discussed venues prior to that night, Brooke wanted to know the date of the wedding. Paris trusted it would be soon in light of the fact that she was unable to stand by to be Thomas' significant other. Paris offered her apologies for focusing the family gathering on her and Thomas, but Ridge stated that everyone was having a good time. Paris remarked, "Not everyone." Paris made the observation that she and Thomas believed Hope would move on after losing her opportunity with him. Hope hadn't been ready to accept his proposal. Brooke responded. Paris showed her ring to show that she had been and that she was excited to marry Thomas. Ridge and Brooke considered leaving their cozy spot to swim with the others while Paris went off to find Thomas. He was teased by Brooke about skinny dipping later. Brooke laughed as Ridge got ready to leave at that moment. Ridge brought up Hope's feelings regarding Thomas once more. Although Ridge stated that the relationship had ended and Thomas had moved on, Brooke stated that her daughter had not wanted the relationship to end. Hope's feelings about a rebound were expressed by Brooke. Ridge responded that he had discussed the matter with Thomas and believed the engagement to be genuine. Edge recommended that trust it as well. Hope shouldn't have expected Thomas to watch from the sidelines. Ridge thought, "It is unfair." Ridge concluded, "It's not love, and it's a little selfish." Brooke stated that Thomas had moved from Hope to Paris in a short amount of time. Ridge acknowledged Hope's difficulties and advised her to join in if she wanted Thomas's best interests. Brooke conceded that trust had been battling in a couple of regions. Brooke was concerned that Hope might do something regrettable because she hadn't been herself. Brooke later inquired as to whether Paris was Thomas's distraction and whether she was aware of what she was getting herself into. Ridge stated that Thomas had communicated openly with Paris. Brooke felt that Thomas was willfully ignorant. Some flizzy from Pacoima. Ridge reasoned. Thomas hadn't started a relationship with him. Ridge was impressed by Paris. Brooke concurred, but she was unsure how Thomas could commit if he was not in love with Hope. Ridge said that Thomas had won over Hope, and he had to believe that Paris and Thomas were aware of what was going on. Thomas, according to Brooke, was not being sincere with himself. Ridge thought Brooke was hurting for Hope, but he said it would pass because Hope would find the right man. In Eric's parlor, Thomas let Trust know that it was a yes or no inquiry. He inquired once more if she would marry him. He was called by Hope. She said that she wanted to be with him and that he knew how she felt about him. "However, you're not prepared to wed me," he finished up. Hope cried out Thomas' name once more, but he said he had been expecting that response. Even though he was aware of what she would say, that was the reason he had asked a third time. He expressed that she was unable to wed him and always would be unable to. This was the reason he had left Paris. Hope inquired whether the proposal had been he had done it to demonstrate something. He said that he could convince Carter to marry him right away, but Hope would still say no. Hope exhaled. Thomas admitted that it had previously broken his heart, but he was fine with it because he had fallen in love with Paris. He had a whole heart. Thomas said that he and Hope would always be there for each other, and Douglas made a lasting connection between them. However, he had moved on and found Paris to be my person. He believed that Hope would also meet her match. He assured her that he was content and that she would too. Paris and Thomas later talked about getting married at Eric's house alone in the living room. Thomas stated that it pleased everyone. Paris didn't understand why Hope was playing the victim, pointing out that Hope wasn't. He added that Douglas would have an amazing new stepmother and that it was just hard for Hope he had left and found love. Hope had a hard time processing it all. Paris received it, but stated that Hope had declined Thomas. Thomas told Paris not to worry about Hope, and he was concentrating on his relationship with Paris, a lovely woman he aspired to spend the rest of his life with. He was certain that Hope would find a man with whom to do the same. Lee was surprised to see her son working rather than with his family at the hospital. Finn stated that he was finishing up work after being on call. Lee thought it was important for him to spend as much time as possible with his family, especially after the last few months. Finn said he and Steffi were great. Lee asked if it was true that Shyla posed a threat to Finn's marriage, and Finn said he would get it. He was reminded by Lee that Shyla was not deserving of his love and sympathy because she had nearly left Hayes without a parent. He was told by Lee to put his family first. Finn attested that he was making it happen, and he adored them beyond what he could say. Lee requested that he demonstrate it by removing Shyla for all time. Finn showed that he was serious that time, and that Shyla was aware that he was finished. Lee claims that Finn should never have been in the same room as Shyla, who would have ended Finn's marriage if he hadn't been careful. Lee inquired about Hope and if she still had a close relationship with her father of hers. Finn said that Hope and Deacon were trying to fix their relationship, but Hope didn't seem to like Shyla very much because she wouldn't let Beth around. Lee was happy to begin hearing some sound judgment, yet referring to the wedding she could have done without what expectation was meaning for Finn. Finn insisted that he was not forced to be there. He'd been getting food. Finn could have left at any time, according to Lee, and Hope had chosen to be there. Lee characterized it as dangerous and unkind to his wife. She came to the conclusion that he needed to avoid Shyla and Hope as well. Hope was working later in Eric's office when Finn came to get Steffi a bag. He inquired about Hope's health. She professed to be great, yet he said she could converse with him. Hope was reluctant to confide in him about her problems, but he assured her that friends were there to help. Hope inquired as to Finn's knowledge of Thomas's engagement to a different woman. Steffi, according to Finn, told him. Trust answered that it hadn't been that since a long time ago. Thomas had proposed to her. Finn noticed that she turned Thomas down. Hope claimed that at the time, she had rejected that idea because she was still working through her divorce and concentrating on the children. Finn didn't think those were the main reasons. Hope's lack of faith in Thomas was not the fault of Finn. Trust guaranteed she continued on from the relics of days gone by, and she didn't get why others proved unable. She believed she knew Thomas, and he hadn't given it sufficient opportunity. Hope concurred with Finn's assertion that Thomas had a reputation for being impulsive. She didn't want to hurt Douglas, Paris, or Thomas. Hope still cared about Thomas, Finn realized. Hope thought it was too fast and too much. She felt as though Thomas was running from something. Finn inquired as to whether she implied Thomas' affections for her. She inquired if that sounded arrogant, but he thought she could never be that arrogant. He claimed that she was unaware of how wonderful she was and that he had never considered Thomas to be worthy of her. Finn believed that she would fall in love with a good man.